When the liver becomes sluggish, one of the first systems to suffer is hormone balance, and that has a direct impact on your hair. Most people think of the liver as just a detox organ that filters alcohol or medications, but it plays a much bigger role. It is deeply involved in metabolizing and regulating hormones, especially androgens like testosterone and its more potent form, DHT. If this process becomes inefficient, those hormones can accumulate or become imbalanced, and that imbalance can slowly shrink hair follicles over time. DHT, or dihydrotestosterone, is a powerful androgen derived from testosterone through the action of an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase. In small, balanced amounts, DHT has normal biological functions. But when levels rise too high, or when the body becomes more sensitive to it, DHT binds to receptors in hair follicles, particularly on the scalp. Over time, this binding causes miniaturization of the follicles. The hairs become thinner, weaker, and shorter in their growth phase. Eventually, some follicles stop producing visible hair altogether. The liver helps regulate this entire process. It metabolizes excess hormones and prepares them for elimination through bile or urine. If liver function is compromised due to fatty liver, chronic inflammation, high sugar intake, alcohol, processed foods, or toxin overload, hormone clearance slows down. That means higher circulating levels of certain hormones, including androgens. When DHT clearance is impaired, its effects on the scalp become more pronounced. Estrogen metabolism is another critical piece of the puzzle. Both men and women produce estrogen, and it needs to be properly broken down and eliminated. The liver converts estrogen into less active forms and prepares it for removal. If the liver is sluggish, estrogen can build up, leading to a condition often referred to as estrogen dominance. In women, this can disrupt the delicate balance between estrogen and progesterone. In men, elevated estrogen relative to testosterone can also create hormonal imbalance. Hormones work in ratios, not in isolation. When estrogen rises disproportionately, it can alter the hair growth cycle. Hair grows in phases: anagen, the active growth phase; catagen, the transition phase; and telogen, the resting and shedding phase. Hormonal imbalance can push more hairs prematurely into the telogen phase, leading to increased shedding. This is often seen in stress-related hair loss, postpartum hair loss, or metabolic dysfunction, all of which involve hormone shifts and liver workload. Another factor is insulin. While insulin is primarily associated with blood sugar regulation, it is also closely linked to androgen activity. Chronically high insulin levels stimulate increased androgen production, including testosterone and DHT. The liver plays a central role in stabilizing blood sugar by storing and releasing glucose as needed. If the liver is overloaded or fatty, its ability to regulate blood sugar declines. This can contribute to insulin resistance, which further drives androgen excess and inflammation. Inflammation is another downstream effect of poor liver function. When the liver is burdened, inflammatory markers can rise throughout the body. Chronic low-grade inflammation affects the scalp environment, impairing circulation and nutrient delivery to follicles. Hair follicles are highly sensitive structures. They require steady oxygen, micronutrients, and hormonal balance to remain in the growth phase. Inflammatory signals can shorten the growth phase and accelerate shedding. There is also the issue of protein metabolism. The liver helps process amino acids and synthesize important proteins, including those involved in hormone transport. Sex hormone binding globulin, or SHBG, is produced in the liver. SHBG binds to hormones like testosterone and regulates how much is freely available in the bloodstream. If liver function declines, SHBG production can decrease, leading to higher levels of free active testosterone. More free testosterone means more substrate available to convert into DHT, amplifying its effect on hair follicles. Toxin accumulation compounds the problem. Environmental chemicals, endocrine disruptors, and heavy metals can interfere with hormone signaling. The liver is responsible for neutralizing many of these substances. When detox pathways are overwhelmed, toxins may circulate longer in the body. Some of these compounds mimic estrogen or interfere with androgen receptors, further destabilizing hormonal balance. This creates a complex hormonal environment that disrupts the natural rhythm of hair growth. Nutrient deficiencies often accompany liver dysfunction. The liver stores vitamins such as A, D, B12, and iron. It also plays a role in converting certain nutrients into their active forms. If the liver is inflamed or fatty, nutrient storage and activation may be impaired. Since hair follicles are rapidly dividing cells, they are particularly sensitive to deficiencies. Even mild disruptions in vitamin or mineral status can weaken the structure of the hair shaft and slow regrowth. Stress further intensifies the connection between the liver and hair. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, which affects blood sugar and hormone balance. The liver helps metabolize cortisol and other stress hormones. When stress is prolonged, the liver's detox pathways are constantly engaged. This increases oxidative stress and can deplete antioxidants like glutathione. Elevated oxidative stress contributes to cellular damage in hair follicles, reducing their ability to produce thick, healthy strands. In men with pattern baldness and women with thinning at the crown or temples, the underlying issue often appears to be DHT sensitivity. But focusing only on blocking DHT without addressing liver health may provide incomplete results. If the liver continues to struggle with hormone clearance, the internal environment remains unfavorable for robust hair growth. Improving liver function can gradually rebalance hormones. As excess androgens and estrogens are cleared more efficiently, the hormonal signals sent to hair follicles become more stable. Insulin levels may normalize, reducing androgen overproduction. SHBG levels may improve, limiting excessive free testosterone. Inflammation may decrease, creating a healthier scalp environment. Hair restoration from a metabolic standpoint requires patience because the hair cycle itself takes months. Once a follicle has miniaturized, it needs time and a supportive internal environment to recover. By enhancing liver function and reducing hormonal imbalance at the source, the signals driving hair thinning can slowly shift toward regeneration rather than degeneration. Poor bile flow is one of the most overlooked factors in hair health. Yet it plays a powerful role in how well your body absorbs the nutrients required for strong, thick hair. The liver produces bile, a greenish fluid stored in the gallbladder and released into the small intestine when you eat fat. Most people think bile is only important for digestion, but it does far more than just break down dietary fat. It is essential for absorbing fat-soluble vitamins and certain critical nutrients that directly influence the strength, thickness, and growth cycle of your hair follicles. Fat-soluble vitamins include vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. These nutrients cannot be absorbed properly without adequate bile. If bile flow is sluggish, even a diet rich in healthy foods may not translate into optimal nutrient status at the cellular level. You could be eating eggs, leafy greens, grass-fed butter, and fatty fish, yet your hair follicles may still be undernourished because those nutrients are not being fully absorbed. Vitamin A is crucial for the health of epithelial tissues, including the scalp. It supports sebum production, which keeps the scalp moisturized and protects hair shafts from dryness and brittleness. Too little vitamin A can lead to dry scalp and weak hair, while imbalances can disrupt the hair growth cycle. Without proper bile flow, the absorption of vitamin A from foods like egg yolks and liver becomes inefficient, leaving follicles vulnerable. Vitamin D functions more like a hormone than a vitamin. It influences the hair follicle cycle, particularly the transition into the anagen or growth phase. Low vitamin D levels have been associated with various forms of hair thinning. Since vitamin D is fat-soluble, bile is required for its absorption from dietary sources. Even if you get sunlight exposure, dietary vitamin D still depends on proper fat digestion and liver function. Vitamin E acts as an antioxidant, protecting cell membranes from oxidative damage. Hair follicles are highly active structures with rapid cell division, which makes them sensitive to oxidative stress. If vitamin E absorption is compromised due to poor bile flow, oxidative stress can rise within the scalp environment. This may weaken follicles and shorten the growth phase of hair. Vitamin K plays a role in circulation and calcium regulation. Healthy blood flow to the scalp ensures that oxygen and nutrients reach the follicle. Impaired absorption of vitamin K can subtly affect vascular health over time, indirectly influencing the nourishment of hair roots. Beyond vitamins, bile also supports the absorption of essential fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids, for example, help reduce inflammation and support scalp hydration. Chronic inflammation is one of the silent drivers of hair thinning. If bile production is inadequate, fats are not digested efficiently, and essential fatty acids may pass through the digestive tract without being fully utilized. This can contribute to dry, brittle hair and an inflamed scalp. Bile also serves as a primary route for eliminating toxins and excess hormones. The liver packages waste products into bile so they can be excreted through the digestive tract. If bile flow is sluggish, these waste products may not be cleared efficiently. Some can be reabsorbed back into circulation through a process called enterohepatic recirculation. This can increase the internal toxin burden and disrupt hormone balance, both of which negatively affect hair growth. When bile becomes thick or stagnant, digestion slows. You may notice bloating, fullness after meals, or discomfort when eating fatty foods. These digestive symptoms are often dismissed as minor, but they can signal that fat digestion is compromised. Over time, poor fat digestion leads to deficiencies in the very nutrients your hair follicles depend on for structure and resilience. Hair itself is primarily made of keratin, a structural protein. While protein intake is important, the environment surrounding the follicle determines how well that protein is utilized. Fat-soluble vitamins influence gene expression, cellular turnover, and immune balance in the scalp. If absorption is impaired, the follicle may shift from producing thick terminal hairs to thinner, weaker strands. There is also a connection between bile flow and gut health. Adequate bile helps maintain a balanced intestinal environment by limiting the overgrowth of certain microbes. When bile is insufficient, microbial imbalance can occur. Gut dysbiosis can increase inflammation and impair nutrient absorption further. Since the gut and liver are closely connected through the portal circulation, dysfunction in one often affects the other. Chronic low-grade inflammation from the gut can send inflammatory signals throughout the body, including the scalp. A sluggish liver, often associated with fatty liver changes, commonly produces less efficient bile. Diets high in refined carbohydrates and seed oils can contribute to fatty liver. When liver cells accumulate fat, their ability to produce and secrete bile effectively may decline. This creates a cycle in which poor diet weakens bile flow. Weakened bile flow reduces nutrient absorption, and reduced nutrient absorption further compromises hair health. Choline, found in egg yolks and certain animal products, supports healthy bile production and prevents fat accumulation in the liver. Without adequate choline, bile can become thick and less effective. Thick bile does not flow smoothly from the liver and gallbladder into the intestine. Supporting choline intake may help improve bile consistency and nutrient absorption. Bitters from foods like arugula, dandelion greens, and radishes naturally stimulate bile release. These foods trigger receptors in the digestive system that signal the gallbladder to contract. When bile flows efficiently, fats are emulsified into smaller droplets, increasing the surface area for digestive enzymes to act upon. This process enhances the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins and fatty acids that contribute to strong, healthy hair. Hydration also matters. Bile is a fluid, and adequate hydration supports optimal bile viscosity. Dehydration can make bile more concentrated and sluggish. Over time, this can impair fat digestion and nutrient absorption. Something as simple as maintaining consistent fluid intake can support digestive efficiency and indirectly benefit hair follicles. When bile flow improves, nutrient absorption improves. When nutrient absorption improves, the scalp environment becomes more supportive of growth. Hair shafts may gradually become thicker, shedding may reduce, and the overall quality of hair may improve as follicles receive the vitamins and essential fats they require to function properly. Lowering toxin load and stabilizing blood sugar are two of the most powerful strategies for supporting liver function and creating the internal environment necessary for thicker hair growth. Hair follicles are extremely sensitive to metabolic stress. When the body is overwhelmed with toxins or constantly dealing with blood sugar spikes and crashes, survival mechanisms take priority. Hair growth becomes secondary. Every day, your body is exposed to toxins from multiple sources. Processed foods contain preservatives, artificial flavors, colorings, and industrial seed oils. Non-organic produce may carry pesticide residues. Plastics release chemicals that act as endocrine disruptors. Personal care products often contain compounds that are absorbed through the skin. Even chronic stress increases internal toxin load by raising oxidative stress and inflammatory byproducts. The liver must process all of this. The liver detoxifies in two main phases. In phase 1, toxins are converted into intermediate compounds. In phase 2, those compounds are further processed and made water-soluble so they can be excreted through bile or urine. Both phases require nutrients, including B vitamins, magnesium, zinc, amino acids, and antioxidants like glutathione. If nutrient intake is poor or demand is too high, detox pathways slow down. When detox slows, toxins can accumulate and interfere with hormone signaling, cellular energy production, and tissue repair. Hair follicles require a stable, low inflammatory environment. Toxins increase oxidative stress, which damages cells at the microscopic level. Oxidative stress in the scalp can impair the function of dermal papilla cells, the specialized cells that regulate hair growth. When these cells are damaged or inflamed, the growth phase of hair shortens and strands become thinner. At the same time, unstable blood sugar creates another layer of stress. When you consume refined carbohydrates and sugar, blood glucose rises quickly. The pancreas responds by releasing insulin to lower glucose levels. Frequent spikes in insulin lead to insulin resistance over time. Insulin resistance is not just a blood sugar issue. It is a hormonal issue. High insulin stimulates the production of androgens, including testosterone. More testosterone can mean more conversion into DHT, which directly affects hair follicle miniaturization. High insulin also increases inflammation. Chronic inflammation reduces circulation to peripheral tissues, including the scalp. Hair follicles depend on a steady supply of oxygen and nutrients delivered through tiny blood vessels. When inflammation stiffens or narrows these vessels, nutrient delivery declines. Over time, follicles weaken. Blood sugar crashes are equally problematic. When glucose drops too quickly after a spike, the body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline to bring it back up. Repeated cortisol surges can disrupt the hair cycle, pushing more hairs into the shedding phase. Chronic stress hormones also divert nutrients away from non-essential tissues like hair. The liver plays a central role in blood sugar regulation. It stores glucose in the form of glycogen and releases it between meals to maintain stable energy. If the liver is fatty or inflamed, its ability to manage glycogen becomes impaired. This can lead to exaggerated blood sugar swings. Stabilizing blood sugar reduces the burden on the liver and decreases hormonal fluctuations that affect hair. Lowering toxin load begins with reducing exposure. Choosing whole, minimally processed foods reduces the intake of chemical additives. Cooking with stable fats instead of industrial seed oils lowers oxidative stress. Washing produce thoroughly and selecting cleaner options when possible can reduce pesticide exposure. Using simpler personal care products can reduce chemical absorption through the scalp. Supporting detox also requires providing the liver with the nutrients it needs. Protein is essential because detoxification pathways rely on amino acids. Without adequate protein, phase 2 detox may become inefficient. Cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cabbage, and kale contain compounds that support detox enzymes. Garlic and onions provide sulfur, which is important for glutathione production. Glutathione is often referred to as the master antioxidant because it neutralizes reactive compounds formed during detox. Hydration supports elimination. Toxins processed by the liver must leave the body. Adequate water intake supports kidney function and bile flow. Fiber from vegetables helps bind toxins in the digestive tract so they can be excreted rather than reabsorbed. Without sufficient fiber, some toxins can recirculate back to the liver, increasing workload. Stabilizing blood sugar involves dietary patterns that minimize spikes. Emphasizing protein and healthy fats at meals slows glucose absorption. Reducing refined carbohydrates lowers insulin demand. Spacing meals and avoiding constant snacking. G gives insulin time to fall to baseline levels. Lower insulin allows fat burning to increase, which reduces fat accumulation in the liver and improves metabolic flexibility. Physical activity also improves insulin sensitivity. When muscles contract, they absorb glucose from the bloodstream independently of insulin. This reduces overall insulin requirements and lowers metabolic stress. Improved insulin sensitivity decreases androgen overproduction and systemic inflammation, both of which benefit hair follicles. Sleep plays a role as well. Inadequate sleep disrupts blood sugar regulation and increases cortisol. Consistent, restorative sleep helps maintain hormonal balance and supports liver repair processes that occur overnight. During deep sleep, the body increases growth hormone release, which contributes to tissue repair and regeneration, including in the scalp. As toxin load decreases and blood sugar stabilizes, the internal environment becomes less inflammatory and more hormonally balanced. Nutrient delivery to the scalp improves. Oxidative stress declines. Hormone levels normalize. The liver functions more efficiently, clearing excess hormones and waste products. Hair follicles respond to this improved internal environment by remaining in the growth phase longer and producing thicker strands over time.